So, yeah, to give a bit of an overview, the No Offence Fence started in the summer of 2018 when I noticed some bullying graffiti appeared on the back of my garden fence, which is on a kind of main little thoroughway, I suppose, into like a high school, which is just down the road from me. So lots of kids every day, you know, in the morning, walk kind of just past the back of my house. So I decided that I'd cover that graffiti up and write a message back, encouraging other people to write positive messages and kind words on the fence, and just talking about how words have an impact, and you've got an opportunity now to choose whether you want to put positive or negative energy out into the world. And I didn't really think anything much would happen, but about a week later I checked around the back of the fence and there was about 4 or 5 first messages. Some were sort of quotes from Roald Dahl and Maya Angelou and people like that. Others were saying things like, you know, be kind to others, love yourself, that sort of thing. So I took a couple of pictures and posted it on social media, and it got shared quite a lot of times. And then a journalist got in touch with me, and it was on BBC Radio Bristol, and yeah, some other media outlets. So since then, it's just sort of grown organically, and I've just tried to keep it going over the years through mainly my Instagram account, at the No Offence Fence, where I post pictures of people's contributions to the fence as a way of saying thank you and encouraging more positive messages. And I've done a few different events as well over the years. So some youth groups have asked me to come and speak and give kind of a little overview of what I've done, and then they've done some like anti-bullying workshops. I also spoke at the National Maritime Museum in London a couple of years ago as part of their Pride events, and in the museum they created a small sort of mini fence installation with all rainbow colours, and other words of support for LGBTQ people. Because they're really like high proportion of particularly LGBTQ young people get bullied. So yeah, just do things like that really. So just kind of try and keep it going a little bit in my spare time.
I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Have you found it has helped your mental health? Like, does it encourage you to think nicer things?
Yeah, that's a good question. I suppose it does. I think, I sometimes go out running, you know, and I run sort of like past my house, and I do think like, yeah, this is like a nice thing for the community, and it's just an interesting kind of piece of community art for people to look at. It does sometimes give you a little pick-me-up when you read some of the messages on there. There was one the other day that I obviously knew it was there because I read all of them, but I reminded of it, and it said learn to rest, not quit. And there's some days where something just really resonates.
Yeah.
And yeah, particularly I think at the moment with like coming through lockdown and just feeling actually quite fed up with things. It's just sometimes those little reminders that you think, oh yeah, like it's okay to sometimes feel a bit down and there are better days ahead.
Yeah. And that, I think that's a big thing actually, isn't it? Like learning to be accept that you're allowed bad days, because I think we often punish ourselves. I actually, when I was setting up the Worcester installation of the No Offence Fence, a lady came past and started talking to us, and she absolutely loved it, and she said she had experienced I won't go into all the details, but she had a really bad time, been through a lot, and was in a really, really dark place, and she was, you know, had got herself up, dragged herself to work, but it was a very low day, and she saw someone had like written on a wall something about like, oh, you can do this, keep going, and she said that properly touched her, and it turned her mind around. So she wrote on the fence what she'd read that had helped her.
Right.
And I thought, I almost cried when she was telling me, but I thought that was really lovely. So and I do think we've got it in us to be horrible and to be nice. And I think sometimes it's really easy to be horrible or negative or think the worst thing, because I think naturally we're all quite judgmental, either of ourselves or of other people, and so I feel like it reminds you to be more positive. So like doing this installation, it helps me to remember to be positive with myself, because I'm often quite negative to me. So I don't know, do you find that it kind of, you suddenly think, oh, hang on a minute?
Yeah, I think one of the things that it does remind me of is how no one's alone. So I think one of the really great things that the fence represents is that for that one person that was, bullying this person and writing horrible things, there's now been hundreds more people that have written messages of support.
Yeah.
And so I think there's some important lessons in there in terms of standing up for others, not being afraid to speak out, choosing kindness and compassion over perhaps doing nothing, or just being a bystander. And also being able to ask for help sometimes when you need it, and knowing that most of the time there will be someone that will be willing to help and listen and support you, because we all have down days or rough patches where we need to lean on friends and family or whoever it might be. And I think the fact that these were sort of total strangers in the community, and this person that's being bullied was a total stranger to me, but just sometimes you have the more strength than somebody else, and if you can use that to help someone, it can have a actually transformational impact.
Didn't she reach out to you afterwards?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, so her parents basically saw it when it was going on, not really viral, but semi-viral, I guess, on social media, and they messaged me through Facebook and just said thank you so much. Like, we've been so worried about our daughter. And then she wrote a message on the fence herself, like saying thank you, and she messaged me as well.
That's so good.
Yeah, just said it just made like such a difference. And I think sometimes it does. You rely on your friends and family are always going to support you, but sometimes someone who doesn't know you as well or is a bit more neutral, sometimes them saying something supportive or positive can give a bigger impact. But I know she's doing really well now. So I know she finished college and she's now at university. So it's a good news story.
Through a hard time, which is amazing. I think it's really important as well for young people, because young people go through a period of self-discovery, and I think within the school environment, or actually it can be any environment, workplace environment, and it can happen at any time, where you feel like you have to fit in with everyone else and what's cool. And then I like that it's like almost for every one freak there's 100 more, and you're not on your own. And actually I bet you someone you go to school with likes the same things you do. And because I remember at school people used to call me freak, and I never understood why, and I was just silly, and I liked to giggle and laugh, and but I wasn't cool. I wasn't cool at all.
No, I wasn't cool.
No, and I just think I wish I'd known to reach out and say to someone else, oh, I like this. Or I'd known to just be, it's okay to be passionate about the things you like, because I think I spent years hiding the things I liked for fear that someone would mock my interests, or so it was cooler to be like unbothered by things. And I think the fence represents that really well, that you know, you don't have to pretend, you don't have to fit in, because there are hundreds of people who feel the same way.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely much cooler to stand out and just be yourself, and eventually everyone finds their tribe, don't they?
And I think as well, like, I always think this is my most important message, is to be accepting of other people more.
Yeah.
Because just because you don't understand them, or you don't understand what it is they're about, or their sexuality, or how they dress, or anything like that, it doesn't mean that they're not fun or interesting. And if you just kind of go, okay, I don't get it, I wouldn't want to do that, or and then just take a step back, realize that actually you've got all these other things in common.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not always easy to do sometimes, especially when you have really strong differing opinions with people. But yeah, there's normally more that unites us and divides us, isn't there, even in those cases?
Yeah, like common ground. I came and did some drawing on your fence, and then we've been looking for ages to try and get another fence somewhere, and finally this happened.
So you were the first person that came and did a really cool, like, floral painting on the side of the fence, so illustrating how you can have all different kinds of flowers in a garden, and each one is beautiful but blooms at different times and is all slightly different, which is really, really cool. And I just need to thank you so much, because I've always wanted to kind of take the concept of the No Offence Fence on tour, because I think it had potential to still communicate those same sort of messages but in different spaces. And so it's just been brilliant, like really cool to be part of this art trail in Worcester, and supported by the NHS, and obviously the local, was it Worcester Timber Products, who installed the fence. So big thank you to them as well. Who
they're our heroes who got it. Last minute we were like, oh, it's not going to happen, and then they came to the rescue. I think wasn't it like 3 days before. It looks really good as well. I love that they've like the proper structure, and as we were doing it, we had so many people stop and say that they loved it and how great it was, and it's slowly filling up. We haven't had the best weather since putting it up.
I know. It's typical.
And now it's going to go on to a youth centre. I was just looking to see if I could remember what it's the Worcester Youth Centre, youth groups.
Awesome. Yeah.
And they're gonna continue to use it. So if anybody else wants to do a fence, cool.